I want you to picture for a moment exactly what your life would look like if you were a millionaire. The truth is, you would have a lot of the same concerns, consistently working hard to grow as a person and develop fruitful, loving relationships all around you. Your greatest concern in life would still be your health and the health of those around you. There would be one main difference though, and it's an important one. You would no longer have to worry about money. You would have the freedom to do what you wanted, when you wanted. You would have control. Financial freedom is the freedom to be able to make choices. The choices about what you do with your most precious resource, your time, who you spend it with, and where and what you do with it. I want you to open yourself up as we begin to talk about what it takes to become rich trading. Traders are often very concerned with how much money they can make and how quickly they can make it. And each day and each trading session is approached as almost the improbable or impossible. The reason I want to share this formula with you is because it's very important to have the correct mindset, the mindset of an investor. And it's important to focus on this formula for the bigger picture. And this is going to help you to be able to execute, which is what you need to do in order to achieve your goals. You need to be able to execute. So let's take a look. Starting with a $3,000 balance. How do you get there? How do you achieve your goals? Where are you starting from? If you're starting with just a $3,000 balance today, and you are committing to making for the next 5 years, regularly, yearly, another $3,000 deposit, what is that? Like $260 or so a month. Go ahead and take a look, and the rate of return. You know, holding Bitcoin, what do you think you could do? What do you think you could achieve yearly? I think the average rate of return annually is something closer to about 120%. Take a look at some of these numbers. 2017, 1,300, 2020, 300, that's 2019, 87, and 2018, 72. These two cancel each other out. You're looking over 4 years, 1,600 divided by 4. You're looking at 400% a year. There you go. Mean annual return, 400%. You're showing the percent change for every year into Bitcoin. It's a couple of down years. 2022, right? Good chance it's a down year as well. That's what I'm expecting. Not being invested, whether that's worth it to you during these bear market years, it could have a significant change in your overall accumulation. That's for some more advanced stuff. So you can see, even if we did experience something like drastically diminishing returns, instead of 400% over the last 4 years, maybe we're looking something forward at like 200%. But even if we only get 70%, what happens if you use something realistic? What happens if you use something like a 30% return over the next 5 years in Bitcoin? You're looking at taking a total deposit over 5 years, $18,000, and growing your account to $46,000. That's only over a 5-year period. But it's also with a 30% return. I think that I personally expect to achieve over a 70% return annually in Bitcoin over the next, 10 years? Absolutely. So let's take a look at that. Let's make that 10 years, 70%. I think underestimating greatly over there. We'll see. We don't know. I think it's safe. I think it's safe to work out my plan using 70% expected return in Bitcoin over the next 10 years. And then you're taking that $33,000, you're turning it into $2 million. Now, $2 million is comfortable. You could basically buy whatever you want whenever you need it. Really very comfortable. But the thing is, when I first started doing this, I did this with 11 years. It was an 11-year plan with 3 halving events. And if you really want to plan this out correctly, starting today, you could go ahead over the next 11 years, expect to have 3 more halving events. Next one, it's every 210,000 blocks. Next one, estimate 20,000, 24, 20,000, 28, 20,000, 32. But the thing is the bull market happens the year after the halving. So you're going to want to make this a 12-year plan, 70% annual return. And now you're looking, total deposits over those 12 years, $39,000, $3,000 a year. You're committing to this plan, to your investment plan. And then you're looking at, $5 million if we hit our expected 70%. Anything could happen. Understand your risk and what your risk is before you make any investment, and do not invest any more than you could afford to lose. But make sure you make calculated risks. Is this a calculated return? Now, if there was just an 85% annual return in Bitcoin over the next 12 years, you would be looking at something, $15 million. That's from here on up. You go on borderline ridiculous for a 12-year plan. But 70%, 12 years, next 3 halvings. You're starting today. $5 million is rich. $2 million, you're definitely comfortable, no question about that. But $5 million, I would say that it's a great plan to have in place. I think it's foundational, fundamental, that anyone beginning before anything else should have this plan in place. And then you could go ahead and leverage different investments. Why does it matter? If we're experiencing diminishing returns, then we want to be following a roadmap, a guide that is giving us that clarity that we could position in and out. If you're just buying Bitcoin and holding it for the next 10 years, you don't have to do anything. You could walk away. But if you're trying over those next 2 years, where you already have that fundamental plan in place to acquire as much Bitcoin as you can and doing it in a very calculated, risk-averse way, then it really matters to understand these price movements. 150 days, that's a small time frame to be looking at and considering for this type of investment. The 2012 cycle, you can see here in 2013, peaking higher. This is 11x, an 11x, 7x. Are we going to see something like a 9x, something in the average of the two? As we've seen up until this point, this cycle has been an average in volatility to the upside. It's been an average of the 2 cycles in volatility to the downside. And as far as consolidation and sideways so far up until this point, it's been an average of the 2. Will the return also be a 9x? If I can get it, I want it all. I will take what the market gives me, though.
I mean, I think price says everything, really, doesn't it? And it's such a significant price move. It comes off of a dip and then it moves so fast. It's not going to be something that you're going to miss. Yeah.
No
and
way.
It's having it's really sort of seeing that as early as possible. Yeah. That's why I think that's probably the biggest event to happen.
By the way, as we begin following price action, I saw it this morning on the live show. I was looking at this. I don't know if either of you saw it, but I've spoke about the 4-step at the top that happened during the both previous cycles. You could see it clearly here as well. That's also a sign, I believe, as we're in the blow off top, as we talked about. Some people like to exit afterwards on the way down. This for me is the signal over here, the price action that if this is occurring again, there's no question after the 1, 2, 3, 4. On 4, I'm exiting. If we're seeing that unfold in real time, that's going to be a strong signal. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and on 4 is the exit. Mic check, mic check. Price action specialists, CTM all day long. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. It's Friday. Blessed Friday, everyone. I hope you are all well and, just happy to be alive, thriving. All right, everyone. Looking forward to this session. It's not the last public live stream by any means. Next Tuesday and Thursday at this time, we will be going live. Aside from that, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of next week. That's CTM only. The link posted in the Discord. Much prefer that route and how this is continuing to transform the journey. 100,000 subscribers. Wow. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being a part of this. Heath has been here since day one, for real. Heath has just been here since day one. There was about 30 of us for months who would just be here each and every day taking a look at the markets with the intention of going ahead and sharing what I've learned over the past 20 years with those around me, helping build them up, sharpen them, iron sharpens iron, until it became this positive feedback loop of what CTM is today. And it is absolutely beautiful. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Did you see? I got to talk about it right now. I want to talk about it in a little bit. I want to talk about it right now. There was a CTM tag somewhere that I wanted to build off of. Oh, so much to do. So much to do. Where do we begin? Well, we'll have to do it later. All right, let's begin where we always begin. That's with price. Bitcoin looking bullish, right? We are seeing this long consolidation here, and it continues this cycle to be an average of the previous 2 cycles in volatility, not only to the upside, but to the downside, and also in its consolidation length. Are we looking here for a massive ending of this bull market cycle? A cycle that we've been positioning ourselves into ever since we got started on this channel together back in October 2019, November 2019. This isn't in white over here. This is during the coil period that Jesse likes to call it. And you could see that we were started positioning ourselves in, making that bullish case for Bitcoin early, front running the coming halving event in May 2020 and the bull market that ensues thereafter. Right? And here we go again, just coming out of that consolidation mid-cycle, as occurs every cycle, mid-cycle, and getting ready here for what we believe is going to be an explosive few months coming into the cycle peak. We'll be doing it together. Not only will we be doing it do you imagine how many people were bearish over here? We held strong, we held the line, and with conviction that we were mid-cycle. There are many that say that, well, until the new all-time high is made, you can't say that that was only mid-cycle and that we're not going lower. I get, yeah, I guess you could say that, but I say that you're very late. The return from the new all-time high into the cycle peak is significantly less from the return of the breakout of the most important trend line into the cycle peak, which is significantly less from the entry that I took below it, which is significantly less anyone who took the descending wedge out of the bottom. So yeah, that's how it works. What else? There was no crying, by the way, over here, right? CTM, it's so beautiful that the history of all and everything we've done is on video as a record. It was a masterclass at what unfolded in early 2020, right? Foreseeing what was going on with the virus, how that would affect the global markets, preparing and positioning in advance, and really slaughtering that momentum to the downside, even on things such as the S&P 500, but mostly risk-on currencies, knowing what the safe havens are when things are falling apart, right? Swiss franc, Japanese yen, outperforming the dollar. Out of that, also on the upside, finding our way in the bottom. That was some Paul Tudor Jones type stuff. What was it? Was it like 700 S&P points in weeks? Man, people don't make that in decades on the S&P on the downside, then taking small losses on the upside. Anyway, there was no crying over here on this 63% drawdown in Bitcoin. Actually, those that were able, bought that dip. And that's how it was, right? There was a lot of crying on a 53% drawdown. Same rate. If you just bought in over here, that was no different than just buying in over here in February 2020, Bitcoin $9,000. There is no difference except that this was a greater drawdown with a lot more stress. I suppose this area over here has made a lot of newcomers to the space. Let's say Bitcoin strong. And the next bit of volatility is not going to shake them as hard. Now the bear market will. A lot of people, this is, thinking that it's it. The super cycle, last cycle, the volatility to the downside is going to shake a lot of people, and it's going to be severe, and it's going to reset the market. And the market, once again, is going to get ready to front run the coming halving. 2024. Don't let it fool you. The supply shock is going to be massive. Here in red at the bottom, you can see the area that we're in right now, 2020, May 2020, when the reward of the miners was cut in half, and it sent a massive supply shock into the markets. By the way, it's in a massive amount of money, the rewards, as the Bitcoin price appreciates during each cycle. The miner's reward, then it reaches an equilibrium within that market. And then when that reward is cut half again, and half the amount of fiat could be sold each and every day, it sends another massive supply shock into the market. It's going to happen again in 2024. We're preparing for it now. A lot of people who this is their first rodeo, this is their first look at the Bitcoin bull market, right? They are preparing themselves not only for the cycle peak of this one, the coming bear market, and to rinse and repeat and do it with a lot more experience and confidence in 2024. We will be there and we will be doing it together. We'll be doing it CTM strong, right? I want to take a look at coin. Why, you might ask? Very important. Coinbase CEO says that they're going to make a $500 million, $500 million crypto purchase, adding it to their balance sheet, and they're going to reinvest the profits. 10% of everything Coinbase makes going forward will be put into investing into crypto. Now, if that's mostly Bitcoin and or Ethereum and or, Cardano and the such, I have no idea. That's irrelevant to me. What I'm seeing here is almost like a Binance. Binance taking their profits, buying, BNB, and then burning it. Now you have Coinbase going ahead and just like putting it on their balance sheet. And one day all that money is going to be used for stock buybacks. So good ways to play it. If you look at what's going on technically, right, it's a good place to be leaning in to coin right over here. We first repair still in play and was the best one, right? But you're just above that. I don't know, whatever, 10, 20%. It doesn't matter, right? But you can see that you're getting ready here to break out right now. Breaking out this morning, actually, a breakout of the trend line. And then pre-market is going to be trading above yesterday's high. It's an entry into coin over here and probably a good one. But the question I ask you is that the trade that you want to take? What do I mean by that? Well, this morning I posted a thread over here on Twitter, and the one that out of all these well-received posted about an hour ago, this well-received insights that I shared, the one that got the least is probably the most important, and it says you have to understand and manage your risk better than anyone else. For example, Paul Tudor Jones, right? While taking on the most concentrated bets, aggressive at the right time, pushing hard, AKA a la George Soros, lesson taught to Stanley Druckenmiller when he took down the Bank of England. You got to know when to go hard to be successful at this. It's one of the most important is coin, where you're going big and where you're going hard. And do you believe that to be the most calculated, risk adverse for potential gain investment that you can make? Not for me. That's for Bitcoin. For that is literally Bitcoin, right? So many more will begin to understand that, I am sure, in the time ahead. Let's take a look at some charts over here. Let's start with Bitcoin looking bullish this morning. Continuing out of the impulse over here. We had a sell impulse triggered this week. Let me come down to the 2-hour. When we broke this trend line over here, that ignited a sell impulse coming all the way down into our trend line. I have to say, in retrospect, you don't always know ahead of time. It was a fantastic placement of the trend line from the very beginning. It's what held as support, and this line going forward probably is what will be wave one of the two waves into liftoff and the cycle peak in Bitcoin, right? If price is able to go ahead and make a higher high over here without breaking down this trend line, then it looks like this next little 1, 2, 3 impulse would take us somewhere between $55,000 at least, right? A lot of traders in this area are looking for Bitcoin to peak. They're looking for that to be, the dead cat bounce, if you will. This was the high of the cycle. Bitcoin bounce up into here, and then we'll be going on to make lower lows. I suppose that's the bearish case for Bitcoin, but for my analysis, the bearish case for Bitcoin for the moment is dead, and it died once they weren't able to defend the most important trend line in crypto. If the bears were strong, price would have consolidated longer before breaking out. They would have been able to put up some type of battle that would have took price down, and then maybe it didn't test the lows. Maybe it tested into this area of supply. I mean, bears didn't do that, right? So as far as I'm concerned, there's a very high probability that the low is in over here, right? Once price broke out of the descending wedge, there was already a strong possibility that low was in. But once price broke the most important trend line in crypto, it was a lot stronger. And it's true, right? If we lose this trend line, we could still see a test of that most important trend line in crypto. right? And anything could happen. It could fail, but right now, everything and the structure continues to remain very, very bullish. It's difficult to be bearish here, especially if you're placing that on a hope and a dream that at some point, price may just dissipate out. If you want to become bearish on Bitcoin, you have to wait to see if price breaks down below the most important trend line in crypto. That would be a terrible technical breakdown. And at that point, if anyone was aggressively bearish on Bitcoin, I would understand it and applaud it and be pointing it out for you. That is not what is happening right now. And we maintain our posture, which we've had throughout this cycle. You saw over the last couple of months, this 2-month, let's call it, instead of a capitulation bottom, this 2-month wearing mentally on people, investors, and traders shook out the majority of the participants. This shook out all the leverage, by the way. This drop over here on May the 14th, May the 15th, took out all the leverage in the space. Nasty, nasty, nasty. People were really hyped up on that Bitcoin for sure, and they got woken up. They got wiped out. If you're trading with leverage, by the way, experts only. What does that mean? That you're already making money in the markets and know how to manage your risk. There's no question about what it means or what you're doing. Where does that bring us today? All right, let me jump over to some other things. Let's see what I have planned first of all. There we go, nailed it, right? I saw yesterday I'm into, and I started watching this interview with Brandon from Crypto Trades and Tech. He had Alan P on, and they're discussing and sharing their insight, what's going on in the space, and really engaging discussion, continuing to enjoy it, and I will throughout the rest of the weekend. I tweeted that if you check my profile and you want to get into that. Alan, where are you, my brother? You know what? I have the ability here to go ahead and invite you to this stream. I would love to get your opinion of all these beautiful charts that you're sharing over here. I actually quoted a retweet this morning. Let me see if I could find it for us, and was talking about the projected rate over here. My rebuild of a top cap model is based on Willy Woo, but with a slight adjustment to derive the peak price. 4 prices will be provided, right? And one of them is the projected rate, right? Projected rate is price increase divided by the day of the model after the mid-cycle correction. Conquering the markets all day long is able to add that technical analysis and modeling, making anyone participating in on-chain analytics already with the greatest edge you could have. Here, Alan is taking that like CTM mindset, that growth mindset, and just on his own, taking what we do here and incorporating into what he does on chain. And because of that, just giving him, what I deem to be the sharpest edge out there. This is like living the dream here, seeing CTM work together as they do. Beautiful stuff. Raul, let me actually, being that this is one of the last public live streams, let me take a moment here and just to say, over the past few weeks, I've grown a strong appreciation for Raul Pal. I know I gave it to him hard a year and a half ago, coming out of the crisis, when he kept calling for like insolvency events, and I was focused on the central banks and what I deem to be the greatest signal of all. Look, there's no question he's caught up and understands it's all about the central bank's balance sheets at this point. And he also adds a lot of tremendous insight and knowledge, including about the adoption of Bitcoin following things like Metcalfe's Law and how that works not just for Bitcoin, but for technology. If you haven't seen this thread, I'm going to go ahead and just retweet it now that I spoke about it, and want you to go ahead and take a look, going over some charts, talking about the tech sector, talking about the bubbles that occurred in the tech bubble, whether they were on Amazon. Let me show you over here. Whether or not it's on Amazon, the bubble in the 2020 .com bubble, and then just went off. He said you should look at these things on a log, whether it's talking about other tech. But he said Bitcoin didn't really have a bubble. It was a small one in 2013. Anyway, good stuff over there. And then this is what really it's about, right? He said, look, I'm showing you a new business model It's network effects. Raul, by the way, also really big on what's going on in the metaverse, right? What's going on. You saw Mark Zuckerberg presenting what Facebook is doing and how you could have meetings with everyone basically in a virtual reality environment. And in that meeting, you could all be sitting around a table talking, and then all of a sudden instantly switch to a presentation room where someone's up in front of a wall presenting, and everyone else in that room all of a sudden, like, instead of seeing Jake and Ralph next to you on your left, all of a sudden you see him in front of you. It's the future, and it's happening a lot quicker. There's a lot of good stuff on Real Vision about the metaverse. Highly recommend, whether or not you believe that you want to speculate in these ideas and or technologies, or you're like myself who understands the bullish case for Bitcoin and wants to go what I believe to be the best calculated risk for many different reasons, right? Good stuff. So it forces us to rethink the valuation, blah, blah, blah. But here's where I'm trying to get to. Saying they're volatile, there's no reward without risk, I guess. But what he brings it back to anyway, I did all of that without using the Fed balance sheet as a denominator, because that's what it's all about regardless. And we're highly focused in and dialed into it. Kicking it out last night with Bitcoin is beautiful. This chart over here, when I look at this chart and I wonder, about how long we've consolidated and the magnitude of the topping action, that 3-month top followed by that 2-month sideways bottom, right? And the sharp price action out of it, it leads me to believe strongly, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but my instincts believe that we're going to see a massive wave over here into the end over here. Now, what's going to happen to cause all of that? Is the Federal Reserve going to reverse their tapering stance, right? I don't know. I don't know, or I don't know that they need to. I think it's coming. I think it's underway. It's not something that we're just at this particular point assessing. It's something that throughout this cycle, from starting in January 2021, seeing how Bitcoin performed in December 2020, I was only looking for Bitcoin to trade, between $18,000 and $20,000. I told you all when Bitcoin was trading under 10,000, it would be closed at $18,000, and it closed significantly higher. And then January was a monster month as well. You were seeing Bitcoin outperforming the previous cycle to the upside in gains, right? Now, if you look at it now and you're wondering what's happening, let's take a look at it from a couple of different vantage points just together on this Friday as we stream over here. And instead of mid-cycle, let's start with the cycle low. It looks powerful when lining this up from the cycle low. Let me go ahead and boom. And you can see that now lining these up from the cycle low, this current cycle has once again come in sync with the last cycle. So that's a sign that we're seeing returns on par with last cycle, right? Whether they slightly outperform or underperform, I have no idea, but they're definitely on par, right? And they're not diminishing anything, and that's what I see. And if I look at this from the halving event as well, by the way, that looks so powerful off the cycle low, right? As price is coming out of that mid-cycle, right? Boom. Same thing on lining them up from the halving, just getting different looks over there. Yeah, and lining them up from the halving though, see, I think what I see in my mind, and you all know that, like, as this is unraveling, I'm always looking ahead, is that I'm seeing that huge consolidation, and knowing the bigger the consolidation, the bigger the move. The consolidation in 2017 was not that big or that long. A 40% drawdown. It didn't last that long. It was, it didn't have the same psychological impact that this one did on participants in the market. And soon enough, price just flew out of there. This one was obviously really volatile to the upside. And then you saw that really prolonged consolidation. And then the move out of it was massive. So I'm looking for this one definitely to be an average of the previous two. Look, it is on par, that's for sure. So we'll see if it's slightly above or slightly below. What else? Prior all-time high break. One thing, it was from when price made that new cycle all-time high. It took 300 days, you know, más o menos 2 days maybe, for both cycles to peak. That's different this time. If assuming Bitcoin doesn't peak in September, right? Then that's a big difference this cycle. It's something worth pointing out. It's one of the major differences I could find so far. What to make of that, I don't know. But that's why it's worth talking about. Or I mean, is it possible Bitcoin's going to peak in September? I don't think so. There might be some people out there who've held and hold that idea. It might have to do with the golden ratio holding, where the bear market is 51% and the bull market 49%. That would be breaking to this cycle, the golden ratio. Things to talk about and discuss. Not like of really 316 likes. Oh my goodness. Everyone, you know, that's what's great about the private live streams. I don't even have to ask. You guys just destroy it throughout. If you're watching this video and you enjoy being here on this Friday morning, go ahead and smash the like button. Could you imagine what got us here? There were many mornings, right? 2 and 3 hour live streams covering the markets with that matcha in hand, right? If you have not yet experienced ceremonial matcha tea, I highly recommend it. It is thoroughly enjoyable. So you know, you got to start it off with the espresso, and then you got to sip on the green matcha tea. All right, 400 likes. Thank you, Salamando. Thank you so much. By the way, I wish I had it up here right now. Lots of love, you know, going ahead and sharing CTM with others. We appreciate you so much, my brother, you know, and yeah. So where are we this morning? Is there anything else? Prior all-time high, big difference, 300 days, price peaking afterwards is a difference. I think that then leads credence if to lining things up from that mid-cycle low. I think this is the sharpest, most accurate way to do it. It's what we've been working together with that hive mind, figuring out. And then you could see the price action coming out of it, mirroring what happened so closely in 2017. It gives some credence to the fact that, you know what, this is probably the most accurate model that we could lean into. By the way, that was put out here a long time ago when we put out the spreadsheet over here, staying on the right side of the market, right? By the way, I did not waver in my price predictions whatsoever during that mid-cycle shakeout, and most people did, plain and simple, you know? But I did say at this particular time that we have been mirroring what is happening in 2013, mostly this cycle. Mid-cycle so far resembles the 2013 bull market with a double wave and longer consolidation. And then I said, I am interested to see if Bitcoin begins more closely resembling the 2017 bull run into the peak. Ian picked up on that. It's very strong. It's what's continuing to happen. And that's my best guess of what continues to happen. Is that, you know, I don't make price predictions too often. I did the work. It's actually the pinned video on the channel, the feature video. My price predictions done maybe 3 weeks ago, well before price broke out or even the descending triangle. And I put out that video actually as Bitcoin was consolidating at its lows, getting everyone, you know, mindful of when price could make that new all-time high, and then helping everyone understand the risk was starting to become to the upside as the bull of all bulls was getting ready to run before it started running. And this gave a lot of CTM, the silent majority, the advantage to go ahead and position in, which we don't know for sure, right? It's still very early. And a lot, could you imagine people taking profits up here? Is this what you're playing for, right? But a lot of CTM mid-cycle able to, it feels like a lot like prior to the halving, where a lot of CTM was to get positioned strongly and correctly at the right time. Let's hope that the most important trend line in crypto holds. Again, that would be different in the previous cycles. In 2013, mid-cycle correction, when price broke out, it made a higher low, and then boom. Right in 2017, after price broke the most important trend line in crypto, it made a higher low, and then boom. We call it the double wave into liftoff, and that appears where we are right now. We are looking at perhaps sometime within the next few weeks, putting in the peak and then pulling back. That would be super healthy. That would be us putting in that end of that first wave. This would be a huge milestone, especially as we came out of it. CTM at that point, confidence rating would just be really, really high, shooting through the roof. Matt Bender, take a bar pattern from 2008 capitulation. The way that I view Bitcoin is as a 4-year cycle, every 210,000 blocks. And if you look at price, 2 years ago, then you're not really comparing to the cycle the way that I look at the cycle. There's no relevance, in my opinion, what happened 2 years ago to what's happening right now. The peaks happen every 4 years. The bears, the lows happen every 4 years. That's how I track it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't look into everything, but if you're looking to learn from me, from the vantage point I offer, this is how I offer it, right? You should definitely and always be exploring. Man, I have memories of Saturday mornings, forever being with a cup of coffee in my hand in the charts. I mean, you're talking well over 20 years ago. You got to do it. It's the only way that you could get there. What else are we looking at? What else are we looking at here today? We didn't look at anything yet. Let's take a look at Bitcoin this morning. I gotta get off these charts. Hold on one second. Let me pull up some charts. You know what? Is 47? John, I don't. Is 47,000 Bitcoin high? I don't think so. Not at all. That would be like, what's the price of Berkshire Hathaway? I don't think that if Bitcoin is attracts smart money, and whether or not you have, all right, listen, you're seeing adoption take place in many different ways and forms all across the world, including something like El Salvador, where people are starting and will be using the Lightning Network to buy things like huevos, like eggs. And it's good. It is perfectly normal. And then you have like funds, family offices somewhere in Asia that are just like throwing down like hundreds of millions of dollars into Bitcoin. So you have many different participants. I don't think $47,000 is a deterrent. I think that is very, very, very cheap Bitcoin. Again, I'm going to troll you all at 100,000 with 55,000 Bitcoin is cheap, because it is. If you understand Bitcoin and you understand money, do your own research, do your own due diligence. You could do a lot of it on this channel here and the work that we've put out. No question about that. I want to take a look at what's going on over here. Bitcoin now extending its gains this morning, right? Let's take a look across all markets. And we will start with the NASDAQ. Look at that. We got from what was that sell impulse, right? His own video showing that, hey, listen, that's a big breakdown of the NASDAQ. Caution, be careful, right? And now you could see this morning here, price breaking above that first repair. If you sold here for protection, are you just getting out of the trade now here, break even? You're a day trader. You must take, a few trades a week. There's no question about that. Or is this, did you do this in the option markets just to protect your long position? You don't want to sell. And then are you waiting for the break of this line over here in order to exit your position, even if it's at a small loss, right? Two smart ways to go ahead and approach the market. And if you're that day trader and you see price breaking above this trend line over here, are you getting long? Obviously, day trader tight stop and targeting the resistance over here. There's a lot to look at in many different ways. But if we're looking at, again, the bigger case, the longer term view, I know it's the 2-hour time frame, but I'm trying to tell you it's the longer term view. Here's what you're looking at, right? Let me give you the daily, and yeah, this was a place, as that trend line broke, a high caution. That's a place to protect yourselves. That trade is still open though at this particular point, and that's until by using the candle, the highest price point, right? So anyway, That's some good stuff over there. If you could take that in and absorb it and then just translate that into everything you do, you will become an expert in the markets. Ethereum, Bitcoin. This is interesting, and we need to look at it because a few things. If you're following what's going on daily, you know what I'm talking about. Since it's Friday and we're having fun, I'll do my best in as short as time as possible, be as descriptive as possible. On Ethereum, Bitcoin, we were watching that first sell impulse occurring right here on the break of this trend line. That trade is still open, right? The high being the highest price point. Since then price then broke down out of this triangle. It broke down to the downside. You can see it clearly on the 8-hour, and you have a breakdown and then a retest occurring, right? Price made a lower low. It's resumed off, right? So if you're holding this short, you're feeling a little bit better about it. The exit is the same thing we talked about yesterday on the CTM only live stream. It's if price breaks above that resistance. At that point, this looks like this was a fake out, and this could really shoot the moon and hard and strong, right? I think Alan P said somewhere around up in this area, that would be Ethereum flipping Bitcoin's market cap. So that's how that would unfold if that were occurring. However, right now, this is bearish on the short term. It started with that sell impulse, and then after the sell impulse, you had another technical breakdown of this triangle. And here you can see first retest, resumption, in for another retest right now. Now, you know you're wrong if you break this trend line over here to the upside. Until then, the correct side on the short term to be is short here, betting on Bitcoin dominance against Ethereum. And that's as clear as you could get. Now, is this bullish or bearish? I don't know. You know, if we might be seeing this being put in. Let me come back really quick to a daily time frame. Let me do it first on the area chart, and I'm coming back into where we were 4 years ago. And we were in this descending triangle. It broke down with Bitcoin dominance really growing up until the peak of alt season, right? So if I'm seeing this occur again, and you see this triangle, maybe what's happening here is obviously we have this very intricate on our repairs as we continue to improve. But maybe you're seeing some type of descending triangle, right? That is going to end with this breaking down before shooting up again into the peak of alt season. You know, you're into the resistance over here. So that's why that small trend line resistance I'm showing you is so important. A break above there that could send it quick and hard. So Ethereum, what's going on over here? We need to take a look at it. Let me come down to the 2-hour time frame. It's very clear, but let me make it clear for you. I don't know if I should do that on the candles. No, I'm going to start over here on the area, right? We had a sell impulse take place on Ethereum right over here. Boom. And this was one that was a big caution. It was a trend line that was going from July. So for whatever it is, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and the breakdown. And then right away, the first thing I do is draw this line over here. And you could see on the candles, touching the tops, bops. Once you broke over here, right? Do you exit this sell impulse? It depends. I mean, if you're selling Ethereum, Bitcoin, and altcoins in the bull market phase of Bitcoin, I think that you're doing it wrong tremendously, right? If you were taking off leverage on any sell impulse, you're doing it correct. You know, there's a big difference. Now, that's where this sell impulse is negated and wrong. It's all the way up here. If you're looking at, you know, buying the dips and you saw that this repair occurs right here, you know, I mean, it's still, let's say, it doesn't have an ultra bullish structure of the market right now, but at that point, it's more neutral and negated. And then you could see price testing that resistance, this broken support now acting as resistance all the way up into this area over here. A breakout above it obviously is going to send this back into ultra bullish structure. It has to get above that broken trend line support, now acting as resistance, back above it and into that new all-time high. And it's back into price discovery. Not at the new all-time high yet, but tracking it and approaching it. There's not much in the way over here. There's not much in the way at all. And that's that. What else? DXY. coming into strong resistance up here, right? I'm not going to go over this again because I went over it so well yesterday in the CTM session, but we're coming into this strong resistance area over here, breaking above this area. That then puts a significant upside potential up into the resistance of this area over there. That's a big move up towards 97 on the DXY. So important area, a trigger below this trendline support that would then negate all this bullish action we're seeing on the dollar, and the dollar could come off quick and hard. 10-year, you know, and we're just resistance has held it, tidied up that trend line with you yesterday. We're just wait. This was the first repair, waiting for the next one over here. This could be, by the way, as you're looking at price with that major technical breakdown occurring right over here. And as it occurred, we were the first ones looking for yields to rise, and we got out at the right time. We talked about, didn't we talk about some point about potential stealth yield curve control going on in that area? We referenced a Yahoo Finance article. This is bearish right now, especially holding that resistance right over here. This could be nothing more than a type of a bear flag that leads to a massive move down, and that's like probably the projected path, especially if the Fed does well. We'll see what happens. Now, what I'm watching is this green line, and that's why I have it green. A break above it, that's going to say to me, I do believe we're going to be testing the most important trend line in the 10-year yields. And if we break above it, woo, that would be the most bullish case for Bitcoin that I know of. With yields rising fast, I think Bitcoin would be the best hedge against inflation. I think that if yields are rising and rates are going up, it will be to combat hot inflation. I don't think that the Fed is just returning to any type of normal cycle. Not with this type of market that we're looking at. And that's the Friday rundown. 46 minutes. I'm going to play some Honey Mood, see what's going on with all of you, check in what's going on with you. A big shout out today to Cardano. Cardano at new all-time highs, held the bullish for Bitcoin. That's a good sign of a healthy speculative market that we're in. We want to see alts pumping versus the dollar. We definitely want to see that. You know, listen, I don't know why it's not talked about. But do you think that Charles is a risk to Cardano and the project? You think if they want to come against Cardano, they can just bring in Charles? I think it should be discussed more. As he should. Brandon, Crypto Trades Intact, the earliest and the longest riding that Cardano. Definitely check out his channel. Keith, Trade Talk, Brandon, Crypto Trades Intact, featured over here on this channel. Go ahead, there's CTM, trained and all day long. Yeah, Jason, if it breaks to the upside, you know, then it's a bull flag. Just watch the trend line over there, resistance. It doesn't matter what you call it, right? Just watch that. If you're looking at a bull flag, I see it. But what I think it is more of this would be a fake out, which could catch a lot of market participants on the wrong side. So if you break above this trend line, watch out. That's when that fire could happen. But right now, yeah, it looks to me like that's a triangle, a breakdown, a retest. We'll see whether or not it resumes off or it's a fake out. Big shout out to Heath and Brandon. All right. Well, I love these Friday live streams. I really do. And I have to say this week, CTM only, I really I told my wife a million times, this is the way. This is so nice. And that's the honeymoon right there. That's the honeymoon. On the public live streams, I put the intro out in the beginning because I believe that if someone is not yet CTM trained, they should definitely be aware of looking at the correct time preference, the correct investment, and putting in a foundational plan that could really change their life. And I believe the more lives we change, then the more. Can you imagine? I see people out there, right, who there are people that are family that are here all the time. Brandon, Heath, each and every one of you, right? And then there are people who spend a good amount of time in CTM, rightfully so, learn, change it, and then go out and do their own thing. Those people are changing lives. Those people are really influence a lot of people and having a great effect. The ripple effect that we have started here is really changing the world. And that it is such a blessing to be a part of, and again, can you imagine where we're going to be 4 years from now? I like to imagine where the price of Bitcoin is going to be 4 years from now. Obviously, for Bitcoin, that's not really a long enough time preference. It should at least be 10 years. But if you're going to have a time preference of 10 years, then you might as well make it 11 and participate in another halving event. Do I think that there will be a supply shock of sorts that occurs when the miner's reward is reduced 10 years from now? I do. I just think that the adoption curve will have matured and flattened up at that point, that it will have a lessening of an effect. But there's no question, whether or not it's millions or billions a dollar a day at that particular time, 8 years from now, I have no idea. But you should plan for 3 more halving events. And why would you stop? And I think that you all should stick around for that last bull market, not the last bull market, but that bull market that will be coming. That's the plan. I started already a halving ago. I think that's how you should track it, with how many halvings you've been holding Bitcoin. And anyway, thank you so much. 100K, like that a lot. 50K Friday, that's a bold call. Brad, love it. Would love to see that. That would be a good weekend, for sure. So, what else is there to say? I wanted to highlight Gino's comment. This is the way, right? In my best Mandalorian voice. There's no question about it. And I'm grateful for each and every one of you for making this happen, right? It's that CTM hive mind, putting in every day, 5 days a week, at least an hour, more often than not 90 minutes of the time. Could you cut down the videos? No. That's not how I got there. That's not how I got here. Looking back, it's going to be clear to everyone. I could say in real time, there were very few who saw it as clear as us. I don't know. There's a very few. Crypto Burb, for sure, on the right side at the right times. There are people that helped us, held strong within the family here. There's no question about that. Alan Au, never wavering. The on-chain analytics guys, William Clemente, always being firm that everything on-chain pointing to mid-cycle. People were not really talking about shorter cycles with greatly diminishing returns. I don't, what is that the cycle? People are still talking about it, right? That could be the cycle peak. That's a hard one for me to wrap my brain around. We are seeing potentially massive fundamental changes occurring in Bitcoin, including what was conceived to be by the bears the greatest bearish case for Bitcoin, that over 50% of the mining took place in China and took place with dirty energy, with coal being burnt. And then that has been removed from the equation this year in 2021. You have seen that all that hash power has left China as they have banned mining. That means that Bitcoin just went a lot greener. We're learning from those that know, right, that Bitcoin incentivizes clean energy. And you're seeing Bitcoin move to the lowest cost of energy, right? Which happens to be clean energy. So you're seeing because of that, these large institutions, I tried to play that clip of Mr. Wonderful yesterday. It didn't work. Maybe I have it up here. Let me see if I could, before I do.
All right, last question. Every single person gets asked. You answer it however you want. End of 20.
Well, I want you to see Mr. Wonderful.
All right,
face.
last question. Every single person gets asked. You answer it however you want. End of 2021, Bitcoin price prediction. What do you got for us?
I think we revisit and go through the highs again. The only thing that has me concerned is everybody's made the assumption. I'll stick with that. But the one thing I would say, and I'm spending a lot of time talking to institutions about this. I'm on my way to the UAE in the Middle East on September 3rd over Labor Day weekend. This topic will definitely come up. Everybody's assuming we're marching towards the ESG resolution. I know a lot of people that own coin now don't care about it, but it's the incremental buyer that cares about it. And I think they're making the assumption of the next 24 months will resolve this problem. If you want to see Bitcoin crack that 100,000, we got to have a solution. And this is only my opinion. Nobody else's. Okay.
All right. I mean, and I value his opinion no, I don't. No, at least he feels that Bitcoin's going to break new all-time highs this year. He's, on the right side, a lot clearer than others, but he's focused in on the ESG. But we were focused in on that a month ago, right? We were ahead, always thinking ahead, working. Yeah, Kevin's now catching up. That's good, but he's probably busy. He's got like a gazillion other projects he works on. You've seen him buy and invest in like hundreds of projects over the course of the years on Shark Tank. I'm sure he's distracted and can't focus in on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as we do, right? And we saw that basically anyone who wants to make an ESG investment has been given the green light. To just be ahead of the curve. When it gets the friendly stamp of approval, if Elon Musk sitting down with Jack Dorsey wasn't enough for you, it's coming, but that money will be late, but that money's coming, right? There was something I wanted to look at that I was trying to get to.
Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back
this was
into
Ben
the Cryptoverse.
Having us this week on the Cryptoverse on
Hey
Monday,
everyone,
right? This was a great discussion. If you haven't seen that, Ben showed us lots of love. Appreciate him letting us articulate our views here to his audience. I wanted to move over to this, right? This was this week's schedule when we had a live stream on Wednesday and Friday in the public. Next week, it's going to be Tuesday and Thursday. I will post this on the Telegram. There's a link in the description of this video for the broadcast Telegram channel. Whenever I, Brandon, or Heath go live or post a video to YouTube, you could get alerted there if you don't want to, trust in YouTube's alert system, or you could just ring the bell and see how that works. That will be our last two public live streams for a while. Maybe Bitcoin goes to 100,000. We'll do an impromptu, maybe not live stream for the public. And then, making sure everyone has that peak lined up. There will be uploaded videos on the channel, if not at least weekly. So where does that bring us this morning? We're back to, we didn't get any head snack in here, right? I'm looking to see if we have any head snack. All right, let's bring it up. There it is.
Markets, analyzing the charts, hitting projected targets within the margin. Find the flow, sip the matcha, and wait for the waves to come in with lobsters. The kind-hearted Jordan Fosters, working smarter, not harder to move the markers. On his way to conquer, trading and investing, drinking the coffee while reflecting on the blessing. The markets are not crashing, the prices might be slashing just to pretend they're in fashion. See the like button, comments, and smash it. Boom, boom, Jordan in the room. Grab the bull by the horns and to the moon. Flow from the plateau, make the play. Boom, boom, it's a taco day.
It's a taco day. It's a taco day. What's going on, everyone? By the way, so there was a video on Real Vision shared with me by Ted yesterday. I want to look into this leak. I started it. It's on Solana and it's explaining the project. A lot of people are obviously taking note of it. It's a little dense for me. I'll have to try to watch it again and find out at least what's going on. Always interested what's going on in the space from afar. Even with something like NFTs, you want to be aware of everything going on around you. You always want to be paying attention to what's going on with the youth. The youth is king. And if you want to be able to spot trends early, watch what the youth are doing. Anyway, everyone, thanks for spending the time together this Friday. I hope you all have a really, really beautiful weekend. I look forward to Monday and seeing you all. CTM only strong. And I'm really, really, really enjoy those sessions. It's just different, right? There's a lot less, let's say, pressure and or stress. And it's a nice atmosphere. It's an intimate atmosphere. These 2 sessions this week have been a taste of what's to come. I'm really happy with it. And that's it. Have a beautiful day, everyone. And I'll talk to you soon.